Hi, my name is Ron Layman. I'm from the Faux School in Frederick, Maryland, where I teach decorative painting workshops and complete commission projects for clients all around the world. Today, I'm going to show you my technique for traditional Tadelakt using traditional materials, tools, and techniques. So let's get our tools, let's get our materials, and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I've done to get ready for our traditional Tadelakt technique is I have my Durock cement board, and there's nothing on here, meaning there's no coating, there's no primer. This Tadelakt is designed, this is traditional Tadelakt. This goes directly over sedimentatious surfaces. So the first step in the process is we are going to take a cup of our lime that we use for the Tadelakt. Take a cup of the mix. This is a quarter of a cup, and we're going to put it in here. All right, measuring. And then we're going to take a quart of distilled water. Put it in, and let's mix this up. We're creating a lime slurry. This will be our primer. First thing, more distilled water, and we're going to mist the surface. This will create a chemical bond between the lime slurry and the cement surface. Now, somebody might ask a question, what do you do behind this? Meaning, what goes behind this cement board? The same thing you would do for ceramic tile or anything else, is that's how you treat behind this, okay? So now, nylon bristle brush, load it up. And coat the surface. Now this will set 24 hours. 24 hours, not until dry. You want it 24 hours, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to let this set for 24 hours. I'll come back and see in a little bit. Okay, our slurry has dried overnight. You might see a little bit of streaking here and there from the brush marks. That won't hurt anything. You can also roll this on with a 1/4 nap inch or a 1/2 inch nap roller. Nothing thinner, nothing heavier. No, it's not necessary. Regular paint roller, high quality. Just remember to keep mixing it up as you're using it because it does settle as you work. Next step of the process is Bernini's. This is the real Tadelakt. We're using a dry mix. Okay, what does that mean? It's a dry mix. It's powder. We have to add distilled water to it. Now, a couple of things here. A wet mix Tadelakt will have synthetic binders and additives into it. It gives it a more stable shelf life. It makes it stay wet longer. It can sit on the shelf for like 7 to 8 months sometimes. The downside to that is that it has basically plastics inside of it. So if you're designing a surface or it's designed to breathe like this Tadelakt, once it goes back on and dries, it becomes like a stone again, back to limestone. And when we polish it, that's what makes it like a piece of cut and polished limestone. There's not really a lot of difference in how this works. If this is a wet mix, it'll still get hard, but there's materials in that wet mix, those polymers, those synthetic additives, that no longer allow the Tadelakt to breathe. So if you want a breathable Tadelakt, meaning air can pass through, that's the beauty of Tadelakt, even lime plasters designed this way, that as air breathes through, it kind of filters out the impurities of the air. Plus mold and mildew won't grow on this or under this. The wet mixes, that's a whole different animal. You got to be very, very careful. These apples and oranges. Okay, quart of Tadelakt powder, and we're gonna need distilled water and a color pack. Bernini color pack, okay? We're gonna do a light color called Tangerine, more of a traditional style color. And how this works, even though I'm holding the wrong container and I don't have a gallon handy at the moment, but this color pack goes into 1 gallon. This color pack goes into 1 gallon. I don't want to mix up a gallon because I don't need a gallon to do this entire surface. So I'm going to mix 2 quarts. 1 quart's not enough, 2 quarts is a little bit too much, but it's better to have a little too much than not enough. Okay, so 1 color pack to 1 gallon. If you get a 5-gallon bucket, you need 5 color packs. That's to get the color as you see it on the website color chart. Okay, now you can add more or less, and that's the beauty of it. It's also up to you. So if you want to color straight off the palette, 1 to 1. If you want to get creative, whatever you want. And you can mix and match color packs. Okay, so we're going to take this and I'm going to dump it into this 5-gallon bucket and hold on while I adjust my camera. Okay, so what I did is I measured it out, and I put half of the tangerine color into 2 quarts. Remember, for color straight off the color chart, it's 1 gallon to 1 color pack. Now, we are going to get a drill and a mixer. We're going to mix these dry ingredients together. You want to mix them together for about a good 5 minutes. Next step, distilled water. I have, starting with a quart. We're just going to slowly add this in and mix it up. Don't add too much too quickly because it could get too soupy, and then that's going to mix up the entire batch, meaning the only way to get it back to a thicker status or a thicker consistency is to add more plaster base, and then you have to add more pigment. So less is more. Definitely more, but a little bit at a time. Now, if you're on a big job, you're going to have a helper mixing as you're working, because what you want to do is mix all your well, we'll get to this in a second, but you're going to mix all your dry ingredients together first for the whole project. So hold on, we'll just get back to this. Okay, so now we're all mixed up. Now, I forgot to cover something. See this mixer cage? There's no fins, there's no anything. It's just you get it from the tile department, your store, and the reason is we use this kind, like a egg mixer, I guess, is that there's nothing here that'll cut the sides of the bucket and get plastic particulates into your mix, okay? So when you're done, go and put it right to your water, give it a quick spin, and let it set. All right, now let's get it on the surface. First, water bottle with distilled water, wooden float, and spatula. All right, we have our slurry on here that's been setting. We're gonna go to quick mist. Just a fine mist. Boom. If you want, you can wait till some of the droplets break down. It's not gonna hurt anything, but we want it hydrated. And this is what's gonna help create more of a bond. It's going to bring all of this together, not layers. All right. So, wooden float. And let's get our material and load it on here. What we're going to do is start at the bottom and push it on. Keep gathering it up as you go. Get some more. Whoops. The spots. Hold on, I'll explain. Excess back in the pail before it dries out. All right, now what I'm going to do is I take my float, put it flat, and I do small circles. But before I do that, why did I go from the bottom up? Because this is a heavy material. And we're not doing this like a Venetian or a Marmarino, a Grisello or a Marmarino, where we don't want it to look busy like that. That's not how traditional Tadelakt is. Traditional Tadelakt is monochromatic. It's very, not flat, but it doesn't have all that movement. It has a soft movement to it. Very soft, very subtle. Okay. Any spots that you see that you could always take and just kind of fill in, and then like so. So you would continue on. Whoops, there's a little spot there. Right there, see? No big deal. So you're only going to mix up enough to do what you're going to be working on. Don't mix up, if you need 10 gallons for a project, don't mix all 10 gallons up, because this will dry in the pail overnight. And you're going to come back and go, oh my. So now we're going to wait. I made a mistake of getting into it a little too soon, getting ahead of myself with the scratches. I'm not ready there for that yet. Not even scratches, but we're profiling it. So we're going to let it set for a few minutes. I'm going to come back and I'll show you what I mean by profiling the surface. Okay, moving on. So what's happened is now as the moisture or the water has left the surface, it's gone. So meaning the material's still damp, I can move it. I can't scrape it or push it. I could add more if I needed to. I would do that by hydrating with some water and making a patch if necessary. But what I want to do is get my surface the same profile. So here's what happens. This is lime and sand. And they're little round particulates. So when you put this on here, like put your float on here flat, and you just small circles, and you're pressing. See the scratch marks? That's the sand and the lime rolling around. Why is it doing that? And well, I'm not pulling it to remove anything for adhesion, to lose adhesion. What I'm doing is creating a profile. So as this goes across the entire surface, like so, the surface, the top of this, is the same consistency. It's a uniform thickness going across there. So this area, even though there's some little scratches and some pitting, won't hurt anything. That's going to add to the final appearance. You'll see how this all works. Tadelakt is different. It's not a trowel like Venetian or Marmarino, okay? This is a beautiful, soft, consistent look. Very, very, very natural. Doesn't have a lot of movement like the Venetian. Now, if you do this and it's too wet, it's just going to make a mess. If it's too dry, nothing's going to happen, and you just have to work with that. So, see here, I got a little spot that broke loose. No big deal. A little water. Just like so, same here, nothing. Okay, we're gonna let that set, but we're just gonna keep going. And see how I'm making sure I get a lot of overlap. I'm not just going like this. And yes, you will get tired. You will be sore. So, can you sand it? No, absolutely not. You'll destroy it. Perfect. So now we have uniform thickness all the way across. We're gonna let this dry a little bit more, come back, and I'll do the next coat. Okay, as we're drying down, I wanted to show you something, the difference between the wet material and the dry material. See the big color difference here? Dry to wet. Keep that in mind when you're making samples. Don't rush it. This is why we will also have to wait to the end when we start finishing it, because we have to get this moisture completely out of here before we put the final top coat on. So continue to let it dry. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, we're dry, we're moving on. Now, if you remember from the very first step, beginning part of the process, we made a lime slurry as the primer for this. Okay, I'm gonna take the water, so this is settled over a period of time, 5 or 6 hours. I'm gonna put that into a spray bottle. All right. Lime slurry, this is the same lime that's been an entire process of this whole plaster now. So that means the lime water taken from our lime slurry, which was created from the powder mix in the very beginning, is gonna be more compatible and promote more adhesion over just regular distilled water. Mixed it really well. See how it richens up? This is the beauty of Tadelakt. It's breathable, meaning it's absorbing moisture in the air. So this is what happens over time. When you put this in any shower and you're taking a shower, or even on your bathroom walls, or floor, or a tub, or the outside of your house, when it rains, it's going to do this. It's going to get darker and richer. When it's hot and dry, it's going to get light and chalky looking. All right, but we want not soaked, no drips, but damn. Okay, moving on. We're going to go back to our float, our spatula, and our same material, and do our second coat. And I just like going through the bottom up on this one just because I'm starting to do it with more of my finishes because it's traditionally how they do it. It's just easier to work with, meaning easier on your body. Now, the other thing, by using a float versus a trowel, we don't get that real busy movement or all the movement we would get by using a trowel versus a traditional, or not traditional, but more of a Venetian style, apples and oranges. 100% coverage. And I did not change the consistency of my mix, so this is the same consistency as the first coat. Oops, get a little bit on this edge here. So if you ever patch something in like that, get the whole blade back here on the edge of the float and come across it and come up. And that evens it out, okay? Like up here on these edges that are not too pretty, we'll go ahead and fill them. And that way when we finish and clean up all the edges, it's nice and clean. Because this is a sample for the showroom. All right. We're going to let her dry, come back, and I'll see you in just a little bit. All right, moving on. Our Tadelakt is in that state of, as you've always referred to in the other videos, a state of love or humidity. It's a bright spot, meaning it's not too wet. If it's too wet and I touch it and it moves, no good. Sloppy mess. If it's been setting, it is dry. It's too dry. There's nothing I can do. Love is that perfect fade spot right in the middle where everything's still working perfect. Okay? I mean, everything's perfectly layered. So you'll see some dark spots, some light spots, but it's not wet. Now we're going to take our plastic spat blade. We're going to come in at an angle. Why am I not using a trowel? Because a trowel is going to damage it. Stainless steel trowel is too hard. It's going to damage this. We use a plastic blade. You can use a plastic spatula or a plastic trowel, but stay away from steel. Plus it's a soft white color, and it could also leave carbon deposits. Burnish. I'm just going to get in here. See, I'm not coming like this, all right? That creates too much pull this way. Come at an angle, and it's leading with that tip, which allows me to just slide across the surface. Now we're going to go this way. Catch it from a diagonal. Catch it a couple different directions. That way we know we have 100% coverage as far as burnishing for step one. So you're going to do that and go all the way around. I'll let it set for a minute. I'll be right back. All right, while this plaster is in this phase, this humid state, this state of love when everything works together, we're going to take our olive oil soap sealer, and here's what we have to do. Sponge, color-free natural sponge. And while this plaster is in its damp state, we're going to take our soap sealer and just put it on the sponge. Okay? Soak it. Just soak it really well. So what happens here? Why does this work this way? It's a process known as saponification, where the chemical reaction between the fatty acids in the soap react to the alkaline in the plaster. And we start, whoops, Start at the bottom and just rub it on. Massage it in, right out of the container. It's ready to go out of the container, okay? You don't have to add anything, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to dilute it. It's ready to go. Massage it in. Start from the bottom and go up. That way if it drips down, we don't have to worry about any drip marks. And just massage it in. All right, this is made from this was black olive oil soap. See how the swirl marks just go away for a minute? They're gone, they won't permanently be there. Small circles, that way you know you're getting up and you're overlapping everything you've already have done. Don't just keep going, that's why you have to keep your sponge soaked. Because you think you're just moving, sometimes you can move the material and you're not adding material. So meaning it's going to be thinner. You're not going to get the layer of protection that you're looking for. It's not a layer. What happens is as this dries down, as the plaster Tadelakt cures down, it will become part of the plaster, and that's what makes it waterproof. Unlike the synthetic materials or synthetic modify, these things become layers on top of. So if you let it dry, put a sealer on it, it's not part of it chemically. It's more mechanical. It sticks to it, but it's not in it. And we want it in it, to be a part of it. Come back and burnish again. Keep a little towel handy. And what we're doing is we're putting it into the plaster. We're really working it in there now. We want it to become part of it. So by burnishing it in, that's what's happening. So one, it helps us to burnish it a little bit more because it's keeping the material soft, keeping the Tadelakt soft. That way we have more time to get some more burnish out of it. Two, we are working it into the plaster so it's not on top. We want it in the material. We want the olive oil soap and the Tadelakt to become one. And that's what happens at this point. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Basically what I'm doing is I'm working until I don't have any material left to work. And I know it's down in into the Tadelakt. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I'll come back and I'll see in just a little bit. Okay, so this is sat for a few more minutes. If you touch it, it's ice cold. You can feel all the moisture inside of it. Now here's the difference. Because we're using olive oil soap sealer, we're not trapping the moisture inside. This is breathable. This is a breathable system. So we're going to let this continue to breathe out and dry for a couple of days. However, we're not finished yet. We still have a little bit more to go. I'm going to get back in here and burnish it a little bit more. Now it's up to you where you want to go with it, meaning how high of a sheen. It's not going to get super, super glass-like, but it's going to get super shiny. All right. So at this point, we have to let it dry a little bit more. And we're going to come back and seal this with a protective layer or sacrificial layer of Savon de Marseille. So the olive oil sealer soap is dried, and you can see we have a beautiful soft luster. All right. So now that's waterproof. Here's what we want to do is put a little sacrificial coating over top of it. That's going to be our Savon de Marseille, the French soap. Now what we're going to do, here it is in the bucket. See that? Nice and creamy. I put it in here just because I want to be able to get my sponge into it. So I'm going to take a sponge, color-free, lint-free, all that good stuff. Oops, way too much. And just slowly massage it in. So what is this going to do? Well, it's an added layer of protection. This is the top coat. So when you go to clean this, and you're going to use the olive oil soap cleaner that we have, because anything else could damage it, meaning remove the finish. And what you want to do is every 6 months, you're going to have to maintain this. And that means a fresh coat of olive oil, Savon de Marseille. So every 6 months, a fresh coat of Savon de Marseille. You're going to clean it just like you would clean any other shower using the special cleaner that's guaranteed not to damage the finish. And every 6 months, you're going to reapply a fresh coat. You're going to clean it first and reapply. Now, in the comments, in the description area below, well, we'll get to that in a second. So what does the soap do other than add a sacrificial coating that you are a little safer cleaning? One, it's going to add a little more luster to the finish. It's going to brighten it up. It's going to give it a little more life. You always just look at it from this side. That way you can make sure that you don't see any dead spots or flat spots. Would be spots where there's no soap. Okay, we're going to let this sit for a little bit. Come back and I'm going to polish it. Okay, our soap has had time to set up. Now what we're going to do is take our sponge, cover it with a piece of plastic. Okay. Small circles and buff it out. Well, I don't use a buffing pad too aggressive, it'll pull it off. It's not thick like wax. It's a very thin coating. So there you have it. Can you see the shine? Look how pretty it is. Now, over time, the Tadelakt's going to take on this beautiful natural patina as it cures. So here's the thing. We are finished at this point. 24 hours, no contact with water. 24 hours, no direct contact with water. Preferably 2 weeks before you actually take a shower in this. Okay? 2 weeks. So you want to do this early in the construction process and then protect it. That way you have, while you're doing whatever else you're doing in your bathroom, this has time to cure. And over time, as this does its thing and cures and gets more acclimated to the environment, it's going to take on a beautiful patina. All natural patina. It's going to do this all on its own. Now here's the thing about this. Cleaning, maintenance, touch-ups. You're going to find links in the description area below the video that's going to have links to all of that. How to care for it, how to keep it clean, how to maintain it without damaging it. You also find links to frequently asked questions, as well as links to the tools, the materials, and an applicator guide. Now you're also going to find a link down there to the Bernini Tadelakt Certified Applicator course. And there's all the information you need to know about that. That's a 3-day course, nothing but Tadelakt, on samples of this size to train you the proper way of installing Tadelakt to guarantee you don't have product failure on a project. All right. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section below. My name is Ron Layman. I'm from the Faux School in Frederick, Maryland, where I teach decorative painting workshops and complete commission projects for clients all around the world. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.